Listen, baby, ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby. If you need me, call me, no matter where you are, no matter how far. Don't worry, baby, just call my name. I'll be there in a hurry. You don't have to worry, 'cause baby, there ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe.
Oh my dude, we were literally just practicing your pitch and tonality. Was that always there, or is that like because you were practicing last week?
Nah, dude, I was super inspired after you called me out on the group call last week to really just lay into it. So I was like, you know what? This is perfect primer for some karaoke.
First off, it's not a call out. It's just a gentle reminder. I'm like, hey, let's just work on this thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude, it's funny. Even before this call, I was like working on ads a little bit, and I'm like, dang it, I'm doing the same thing where I'm not like actually fluctuating my voice, you know? So
Yeah, there's started working with a speaking coach, and he has something Vin, I forget the last name, Key or something like that, but he says 88 keys, right? Like with a piano, I think is 88 keys. You got to be able to use all different keys, and the best instrument that you have is your voice. And some people, they're really good at what they do, but they don't have the delivery of the speech or the speaking and the presentation of things. And if your technical abilities are 10 out of 10, but your speaking abilities are 2 out of 10, you might still struggle with stuff. So big kudos to you, dude. That was range. I would have turned my chair over if this was the voice.
dude, it's funny that song. I was talking to my wife this weekend, and I was like, you know what movie is just like incredible? Is Remember the Titans. And then I was thinking, I'm like, oh, the soundtrack from that song is just, or from that movie is incredible. And I'm like, that's exactly what I'm going to hit for my karaoke song is
This
Ain't No
is gonna
Mountain
sound
High Enough.
pathetic. I've never watched Remember the Titans.
Dude, add it to the list for sure. I was like, I had a very limited emotional bandwidth as a kid. I don't think I cried hardly at all, but like I remember crying watching that movie when I was like 10. I'm like, oh, these are emotions here.
This past weekend, someone said something about Sandlot, the movie, and I'm like, I've never watched that. They're like, that is literally pathetic. You're killing me, Smalls. I'm like, yeah, I've heard of that. I don't know where it's from. They're like, it's that movie. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me right now.
Yeah, you got to put that on the list too.
Vince, what's new with you, dude? Yeah, there's a lot new
Yeah,
stuff, I guess, on your end, right?
yeah, man, it's been crazy. I would say the past 2 or 3 years have just been absolutely crazy, almost a sprint in a way. And I've learned a lot, but I would say the past, even 2 or 3 months, the biggest thing has been us moving into another standalone space. And so this is actually my second move into a standalone. And so it's a little easier this go around, but like just recognizing how difficult like transitions are for me in certain ways and like switching up my environment. I think I'm ready for it. And then it happens and you're like, oh my gosh, everything's being uprooted. And there's just like that uneasiness. But we've been in this space now for 2 weeks. So finally like kind of starting to feel centered or settled. And yeah, it's just been a whirlwind.
Yeah, one of the things I've been I try to like think about certain ways that I'll communicate things, especially trying to like inspire, the people in the Go Getters group, and just like when I talk to PTs or do speeches, and like one thing I want to harp on or like try to work out is you're never ready for something that you've never done, but you can always look at back at your experiences and remember that you're the type of person that will be okay when you step into the unknown. So it's like you're never going to be ready to step into a bigger space. And this won't be the last time that you do a move. It won't be the last time that you make a change. When you look back at the body of evidence that you've had in the past decade, sometimes even your childhood, right? Like you've done some incredibly difficult things. I just say to myself, I'm Andy. I do hard things and it always works out for me because I don't quit. You're Vince. You're just capable of like change. You're capable of pushing yourself. And granted, you're not going to do it all the time, but like, man, dude, watching you from the beginning, I'm just like, there's a couple of OGs, right? Like,
Hmm.
you're definitely one of the OGs. Dylan in the group is an OG because he was one of my students. So it's just like to see you go from like where you were before to where you are now. It's like it's crazy. Like, where were you 3 years ago? Because if it's been a 3 year sprint, what was the starting line like?
Yeah, dude, I remember. So I remember I was doing home health actually. This is probably like 4 years ago. And always in the back of my mind, I'm like, I want to do cash PT of some sort and like work with people in like a fitness sense, you know? And about 4 years ago, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just try this like CrossFit thing and just like kind of see what happens. And from CrossFit, maybe I can kind of push into some PT stuff and this will be like my avenue. And so I joined this gym. I'm like, okay, I can like do these CrossFit workouts. Like, yeah, they're hard, but like, this is fun. And like, yeah, I'm still avoiding this like business stuff though. It's like comfortable to be in a home health and like make money, build my own schedule. But like, is this really what I want to do? And, I have to credit my wife because she's always like pushed me when I'm kind of sitting back and avoiding things and waiting for the perfect scenarios. She's kind of like, hey, go talk to the owner. Like, you want to do this, why don't you push yourself into there? And so I remember I went and like chatted with the owner and like kind of got the ball rolling. And then I feel like from that time it's just almost been this like momentum down a hill that I'm like, okay, we got the ball rolling, let's just like keep pushing the ball down the hill. And yeah, there's going to be speed bumps and things and like new challenges, but I'm just going to keep pushing it forward. And so that's kind of like how things started. And again, yeah, it's about 4 years ago, which feels weird to say.
Yeah, I love the speed bump analogy, right? Because I feel like every single year, every single phase in business is like some sort of like speed bump. So what was that? What was the biggest speed bump for you? Or like, what are a couple of speed bumps you encountered that first year?
Yeah, I think so. Being in this like CrossFit gym was super uncomfortable for me because really for a variety of reasons. Like I was kind of new to CrossFit, so to be this PT in this gym that's going to work with CrossFitters that hasn't actually done CrossFit that long. Like I had a kind of weightlifting, running background, played sports and stuff, but that was really difficult because it's just like imposter syndrome to the max. And uh, I was going through therapy at the time. We can kind of get into that. Still going through that, but I remember my therapist saying, "Yeah, it probably feels like you're like the new kid in school, like constantly. Like you've been doing this for like 6 months and you're still uncomfortable. Like you're still the new kid. So." That was really difficult. And I felt like, ultimately, I remember you mentioning a book called The Long Game. I think it's Rory Clark, I want to
Yep.
say. And I remember being like, you know what? Like, this is uncomfortable. But if I like play this out, let's play out the two scenarios. I could go back to home health. How is that going to play out long term? Or I can keep being the new kid in this gym and like keep playing the long game with PT and trust my skills, trust God that's going to play out. And, my faith was a big part of that too. And just like playing out the long game scenario of it. And then also like having you and other people like in a mentorship that were also in that same uncomfortable like bubble that really helped too, knowing like, okay, I'm not alone in this like struggle of feeling like an imposter.
When you were in Moment Mentorship, when had started, you were running the practice already, right? Actively? Because I remember you were doing like a few thousand in revenue.
Yeah, so I was doing some just mobile visits in people's homes. So this was even before the CrossFit gym. Like I had some people I'd worked with in home health and they like wanted to stay connected. They're like discharging off of home health, but like, hey, like if you ever do any sort of like personal training or anything, I'd love like for you to come by. So like it was super casual and it was like maybe 3 to 4 people, but I did that for a decent while and kind of like set up my business stuff with that. And then I was like, okay, let's take this to the next level and actually like get into a space.
Oh man, okay. All of it's coming back to me now because I remember one of our first conversations as we were onboarding you. We are trying to figure out what you were going to do with those patients because you're like, dude, I'm killing time driving to these people. I've got a space in the gym and I'm trying to get going. What kind of feelings were you having, like, internal dialogue wise, like as you were making this big jump? Because I think that is something that people think doesn't happen, right? It's like, oh, Andy's obviously successful. His inner dialogue is probably on point. It's like, I know every day we're fucking waking up and beating the shit out of some demons. What kind of
Yeah.
inner dialogue did you have?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I still deal with that. Like, it never goes away. That like resting anxiety and like self talk. I feel like it shows up in different circumstances. So to speak to actually verbalize what that inner self talk is, I think is kind of difficult for me to like even say out loud, honestly, because it's almost, I don't know if there's an element of shame with that, where you're like, wow, I really talk to myself that way, you know? So
Yeah.
it feels private in ways, but what I will say is like fitness, I think, is such a big thing for fighting that inner self talk. So like, dude, even this morning before this podcast, like I'm training for like a half marathon right now and a full later this year, but I had like a hill workout this morning that I'm like, dang, I don't want to get up and do this, you know? Like, I don't want to like push into this. And it's like that same self-talk coming into my head. And I'm like, you know what? How am I going to feel like later on if I just skip this, you know? I should just like push this resistance. It's going to be uncomfortable, but I'm going to feel way better after. And so I've honestly just made it a habit over the past 4 years to like keep fitness a priority while I like push forward with business stuff, because it kind of helps keep the self talk at bay, especially because I'm like, hey, I'm going to do the hardest thing today right away. And then everything else is going to like at least be a bit easier than the thing I did first thing this morning.
Yeah, one of the things I've kind of realized is like your natural intuition, who you are, is usually inner dialogues that are statements versus, I like to always classify these negative thoughts and the voice in my head as something. So my coach and I call it the gremlin. And the gremlin usually comes up and asks you a ton of questions. So, do you really think you're good enough? Who do you think you are to be starting this? What makes you think that you can open up a second space? So usually when I try to give myself like frameworks to figure out like, hey, when is this who I truly am, and when is it like a gremlin? And a lot of like the inner work is just remembering who you are, right? But we are usually afraid to do things because of all the narratives and the beliefs and stuff that we have. So normally whenever I'm like afraid of something, I'm like, that's not actually who I am. The true me is the person that's going to keep moving forward. And whenever I feel fear, whenever I'm having these questions or negative dialogues, it is something else, right? It could be negative Nate, you know.
Yeah.
There's negative Nate again coming in. I call it the gremlin, but you know, I was about to call it like pessimistic Peter. But I'm like, dang it, Peter obviously is the homie, so I can't use Peter, right? So it's like you got to create a random name and dissociate from that thought sometimes. There's like even Beyonce, before she goes on stage, she has an alternate ego that is on stage. It's not Beyonce, it's somebody else. And it sounds fucking ridiculous, but the voice in the head can be so vicious.
Yeah, I think there's a quote, and you might be able to refine this quote for me. I can't remember who says it, but it's like entrepreneurship is self development disguised as business. And I feel like with what you have to push through in terms of like the like fighting those thoughts, I think it just molds you in the right ways, because you're gonna have to kind of like recognize when those feelings and parts show up. And like for you, it sounds like you call it the gremlin. Like for me, doing some therapy and working through like specifically, there's like internal family systems is like a type of therapy, and there's like different parts of yourself that are like fractured off as you grow up, and those parts show up in later times. So like for me, a huge part that I always have to address is like security Sally is what I call it. And it's like the part of me that fractured and thought like, oh, everything is gonna like break and like go away, and like play the safe card, make the safe move. And like with business decisions and growth, even starting out with like this PT stuff, it was always like security Sally showing up and being like, you know what, you could just kind of hang easy and like enjoy the benefits of home health, like the healthcare, all that, and it's easy. The documentation's easy. Like, why don't you just take the comfort road and be secure because you have student loans to pay off? And like that would show up constantly. And then eventually I was able to like actually address that part and like almost communicate with it in a way and say like, hey, I hear this is what you're telling me. I need to be safe, but this is like what my true self does not want. And my true self actually wants to push into what I actually believe in and am passionate about, which is like serving active people that are motivated to actually like get better and are misserved by our traditional healthcare.
The part about like I love the development side. You had mentioned like the therapy, the internal family systems, and all that stuff is like things that I think are awesome because the part of go getters coaching that is the most rewarding is not like, oh yeah, so and so check out their revenue, right? It's the conversations in between of like, hey, I did something that was super outside my comfort zone. Thank you for supporting me during that transition. That meant a lot, and like I feel like a different person because of it. Or like, hey, I was managing my team, and you helped me realize that one of the things that I was doing was actually a trauma that like I've never really unpacked. And I'm not saying trauma, like I'm some sort of psychologist, which is more so like, hey, there was a isolated event that happened in my childhood that you helped me realize was helping me lead in a very specific way. And I think seeing the transformation of people, right, is so rewarding. The secondary effect of that is obviously your revenue and stuff will increase. But I think if we focus slowly on developing the person, everything else takes care of itself. But I just want to give a huge kudos to you because I feel like that has been pretty much like a hallmark of your journey.
Yeah, I feel like I, had to bring it up today because I think like searching for ways and like how do you grow a business efficiently, who's got the best like systems, education, all this stuff. And like, yeah, that stuff's important, but I think what drew me to Go Getters is just like even the name itself. Like I remember chatting with you before Go Getters had even really come to fruition, and we
We were
were in
doing
a
some ghetto business stuff on the side. Yeah.
yeah, we were doing like it was like the moment business stuff, which was helpful. But I remember talking with you and being like, "Hey, dude, like I feel like I need to like push this to the next level." And you're like, hang tight, chill, like we got this thing coming. And then you showed me the name like Go Getters. I'm like, dude, that's so perfect because like I think like the most important thing is like you have to be a person that's willing to like push into discomfort and your limits and like dive into your like emotional and mental self, especially. Like I think that absolutely has to happen for you to like progress with things. And even with treating patients, like you're the bottleneck for your business, but you're also the bottleneck for like your patients getting better. So like if you're like mentally or emotionally and having these unhealthy beliefs and you're trying to help someone through a hard life event or an injury, like it's not going to go well. So they almost kind of like feed off each other and go hand in hand where you grow as like a business and like you can progress and like revenue follows that. But then also your patients get a lot better. And then the word of mouth also grows. So you kind of can hit this like escape velocity in a way because they kind of feed into each other.
Yeah, the first year that before it was Go Getters Coaching, it was called Defining Moment Coaching. And it was like a group of like 8 to 12 people. And we were just helping people in moment education essentially launch and scale businesses. And it was funny because I never wanted to do business coaching, right? Like people were just asking. And whenever people ask, I would refer them to other business coaching groups, ones that I've been a part of, etc. And so many mentees were coming back because like, dude, it left such a bad taste in my mouth. The sales call was terrible. I've listened to some of their content. It just doesn't like resonate. I was like, all right, just hold on tight because I need to hit a target revenue before I feel comfortable coaching you guys. We hit the target revenue and I'm like, all right, let's do this. And it was ghetto as hell. It was like, pay a certain amount per month, get 2 calls. Whenever you struggle with something, I'm going to coach you up right then and there, and then we'll build the training. After about a year, we were onboarding more people, and I was like, I need more help. So I reached out to Peter, pitched him an idea, and Peter was like, yeah, let's do this. And it took a while, like probably like 3 months, and then we kind of put everything together. And like December 2024 was kind of when everything started. And then January hit, and then boom. But your main bottleneck sounds like just getting used to being in a place that you weren't, used to. What happened the following year for you?
Yeah. So then things were like going well. Like it was just a matter of like staying in the game and just doing the best quality care. Like I think of those first patients I was treating and I was just like going way above and beyond, because then things kind of spread and then I was like getting busier and I had actually a PT reach out to me that's on our team still today. And she was like, hey, I love what you're doing. Like, would you ever hire? And like at that point, I'm like starting to get a little bit busier. I'm like, that's like scary. I don't know about that. So it was again like another speed bump. But I feel like I interviewed her. We probably did like 5 interviews because I was so like nervous about it going well. And ultimately it did, and she got busy too. So like kind of turned into how do I mentor another PT with like not only clinical stuff but also like the business and sales. And then essentially got to a point where the CrossFit gym kind of like forced our hand a bit, and we're like, hey, this is now your new rent. And it was like there was some other things that happened. And it was like, okay, well, it looks like we got to start looking at some spaces. So that was about it was being at the CrossFit gym for about a year and a half, and then we kind of got pushed out. So in a good way.
Holy cow, man. So first year, kind of going home health, started the side hustle, things started going well. Second year, things are going well to the point that you had to hire somebody. What was like your revenue ranges kind of like averaging about in like year one and year two?
I want to say, shoot, man, I want to say it was probably 15 to maybe 25. I want to say.
In year one, you're already hitting that?
Actually, no, you're like, I guess very early on, it was like below five. Now that I think about it. Yeah, it was not that high. It was probably like maybe five, maybe 10. Once Anna came on, then and that's the other PT. Once she came on, it became higher than that.
Nice, nice, nice. And what was that like? Obviously, like it's a completely different ball game when you're a PT yourself and you're like, all right, I'm good to go, right? Like I'm the only person I have to worry about. Now it's like, okay, I've got to fill up another therapist schedule. I'm responsible for their livelihood. I've got to like think about all the things that, you're fine to work 70 hours a week probably, right? But you have to consider someone else where it's like, man, work-life balance and those kind of things. How has that been for you?
Yeah, really, it was just setting the stage early on, like expectations and being upfront with communication on like, hey, like I'm a new business. I'm a new business owner. Like I've never done this before. So asking for flexibility, being adaptable, those things. And for Anna, it was helpful because she was willing to be flexible and had experienced the same frustrations that I had experienced with like corporate medicine, where she's like, you know what, I'm willing to like be flexible and build this thing over time. And so for me, that actually took some pressure off where if I had hired someone like full-time salary right out the gate, I probably would have broke because like I needed to kind of play the long game and make sure I wasn't like uh, trying to grow like too fast, you know? So I kind of had those expectations up front and yeah, was willing to kind of be flexible in the growth part of it.
Yeah, it's an important lesson there, and it's not fake it till you make it. I think a lot of people are doing the fake it till you make it. It's just like being fucking vulnerable and being who you are at your very core. A lot of people tend to respect that more than like pretending that like you know how to be a leader. A lot of like me personally as well, it's like I just tell our team straight up, it's like I've made a mistake 6 months ago when I told you guys to do this. I was wrong, right? Like you're just like being so blunt and honest with these things. And I think it gives people more respect and it allows people to feel a little bit more at ease because when you admit that you're wrong and you make mistakes, it opens it to be more like a culture, right? It's like, hey, I make mistakes. I do these things too. I'm human as well, and I'm going to grow from it. And so can you.
Yeah, for sure. And I had heard someone say something. I think it was Joe Hudson. He's like, "What's the scary thing that we're not saying?" You know, and that's something that like is always in my mind of like, what's the scary thing I'm not saying with like one of my employees, you know, or like someone on our team, and like leaning into those things because like if you're not like you said honest, like that like resentment and those things kind of build. So trying to keep that at the center of things because like as we scale it's obviously super important and early on that was a skill I did not have necessarily and it's like I had kind of seen in other working environments how the communication and expectations were like poorly communicated and I was like motivated to uh, provide something different.
Yeah. What? So I guess year three is when you opened up the spot and the space was thick. What was that like?
Dude, that was terrifying because I would say like at the CrossFit gym, I would say maybe 30 to 40% of our clients were like connected there. And this new spot was about 15 minutes away from there. So I'm like, okay, how is this going to work out? Like, are people going to follow us here? What is this going to be like? And yeah, terrifying to not only like build out a space, but then also like now we got to really work on marketing and sales and those things to like a colder community. And that stretched me in ways that I was like not really ready for. But around that time is when Go Getters was starting to get going as well. So that was helpful to get like some strategies in place for that. But the actual like build out of the space, like making decisions on flooring, equipment, how do you want the environment to like feel, all that stuff was like super important to me. So definitely put a lot of pressure on myself with those things, but I'm glad that we didn't necessarily go like cheap with things and like, okay, let's just like throw some random Facebook marketplace equipment together and just do our thing. Like wanted stuff to feel like, okay, this is like different. This is like different healthcare, you know?
Has there been much of a change from year three and year four, or you feel like you've just been dialing more of the processes, like obviously this year to start this year?
Yeah, I think definitely continue to dial things in. I will say, like with sales specifically, that is like constantly evolving. I think for a long time we were doing like package sales. Actually, I remember with the defining moment coaching and Peter joined, and I remember you were like, "Yeah, this guy named Peter, he's going to be doing the Wednesday like sales calls if anyone wants to get on." And I think I got on like three or four, and it was like just me and him. And I remember him like he's like, "What do you? So how do your evals go?" And I like told him, "Yeah, we like, lay it out. We do a 3-step process, and we pitch like, a 6, a 10, or a 15. We give them a sheet. They get to pick what package they want." He's like, "Stop doing that." And I was like, "Wait, what?" So like he's just like, "Yeah, don't do that." And then like just completely basically revamped our sales process and was like, "Dude, tell them exactly what they need, draw it out on a board, show them the steps, like make it very specific to them. You're the expert. You're not a restaurant where they come in and they pick what they want, And I was like, that's so fascinating, actually. And I remember him too talking a lot about Alex Hermosi, which I'm a big fan of. And I remember being like, okay, this guy, I'm gonna like follow this guy's lead. He's like clearly scaled a few clinics. I like what he's doing. So that really evolved like a lot of our stuff, and I think it continues to evolve now because especially growing a team, like the sales part is probably the most difficult, but arguably the most important because you can be the best clinician, but if people don't commit to working with you, like it's just exhausting.
Yeah, the reason why we brought Peter on because Peter hit 7 figures, and I was like, "Damn, this guy's a savage, and he's amazing at sales." And you mentioned Alex Ramosi. Like Peter took out a credit card just to do a gym launch. Like me and Peter, we were super close because we shared the same birthday. We were in the same accountability group in another business mentorship, and we would just keep in touch all the time. So he was someone that I was super, super close with. I basically was just like, man, like I need someone else because Christy and I were getting super busy. And also building in New York City is so different than building elsewhere. So I needed someone that was like used to like running workshops and doing injury screens and obviously scaling the ads because those are things that worked really well for him. I was just so good at like the clinical side, how to help you like close your evaluations, how to build relationships one on one, love the SEO stuff, email marketing, social media content. All those things were the things that were my wheelhouse. So bringing Peter on was just great.
I remember he mentioned something that was like, hey, you don't need another like Con Ed course to like grow your business or like progress as a PT. Like ultimately, he's like, Con Ed courses, you already know enough. You need to just dial in like more of the sales and marketing aspect of the business and things will like progress from there. That really opened my eyes because obviously the PT clinical skills, all that aspect of it is fun and enjoyable. That's like why we got into this. But yeah, there's so many other things that we have to like try and sharpen as we like enter into business. And he called that out with me like pretty early on.
I booked it down. Yeah, the now everything has changed completely, right? It's like because even then it's like working with Peter helped me challenge some of my limiting beliefs, and some of them was like ads don't work in New York. They do work. It's just a completely different beast. And there's been times where like I've worked with other agencies, paid prior to running everything in house. We probably have lost $50,000 with agencies and everything else. But it was all good mistakes because, gosh, like this is probably the only sustainable way to scale over time. Otherwise, it just takes such a long time because the biggest bottleneck is always going to be leads and then sales and then talent. So the first bottleneck you have to address is leads. And as you get a bunch of leads, you got to get really good at sales and then you got to get good at hiring talent. And then that's how you scale. Most people don't do both the top two right that well and it just goes straight into like hiring talent and just like praying that leads happen. But if you don't grow quick enough, you don't get to create better positions for your team. So it's been a crazy journey. Even like, gosh, we're only in year two of GGC, and you're like, yeah, there's only one person that showed up to. You're the only person that showed up to the 1G sales call, right? So it's just been cool to obviously now have like more community and stuff like that. And you're probably one of the bigger practices that we're working with, and like I feel like there's so much still growth that like is coming in this year. What are you excited about coming into year four?
Yeah, I think like being in this space, we have about 4,000 square feet now in this new space that we're in. So whereas before it was 2,000 and we were kind of like packed like sardines in this place. And so being able to actually focus more on mentoring PTs and like growing our team in that way, I think is really exciting. Because like I still enjoy treatment, but in ways it almost feels kind of routine. And it's almost more fulfilling for me to like mentor a PT, see them crush with a patient, and then seeing that patient's Google review talking about the PT. And I'm like, that is freaking awesome because the fulfillment for me has almost changed a bit where it's like I want PTs to find a job that they like love doing. It's like we all got into this to like help people, but then you get into the actual like workforce as a PT and you're like, okay, I can do ortho and like just get absolutely run into the ground for the most part. Or I can do home health and almost lie to myself that it's like that it's great. And I will say like home health, I should be careful because I did enjoy home health quite a bit, honestly. It was great. But I also, there were aspects where it's like you're going into tough situations, documentation, filling out Oasis things like that just like wore me down over time. And so I'm like, okay, I want to provide a space for people to be able to like have a job that they actually like where they're working with people that are motivated. And like, this is why we got into PT. So that's kind of what I'm most excited for at this point.
I love it, man. And it's the most rewarding part. It takes you becoming a different person to be able to do that at a super high level. For the, now that we've kind of looked at like the 4 years, like there's obviously been moments where you're like, yep, this is it. I'm fucking quitting. This is not the fucking move anymore. Have you had like, what were those moments like where you're like, yeah, I might throw the towel in?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think honestly, I don't think I've gotten to the point where I've considered stopping, to be honest. I think I've weighed, a question I ask myself a lot is like, choose your pain. So it's like I can choose the pain I'm feeling right now of this like business uncertainty and these like obstacles I have to navigate, or I can choose the pain of going back to this secure job, but like getting absolutely ground down over time and like not being able to provide the treatments I want to provide. So like the choose your pain kind of frame has been super helpful and really hasn't got me to the point of being like quitting is just not an option. Like the only way you lose is if you quit.
Let's fucking go. When is Murphy's Law hit though? When is it like, dang, can I just get some good news for a second here?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's hard. I kind of talked about this in Go Getters actually about a month ago or so, where like there are really tough weeks, and I guess like a month ago it was like, dang, this is really difficult. I had personally like 10 evaluations come through our door, and I think one of them converted to like work with us. And like for me that was super difficult and I was like, what is going on here? Like is this like PT thing or a business? Like is this actually like falling apart at this point? Like is this what I most feared? And then sure enough, like a week after, we went like 9 for 9 on evals. One of my PTs started doing her first eval, went 3 for 3 on her evals, which is actually crazy. And we had like a PR month. So like that up and down aspect. I think you had mentioned this earlier in the episode, but it's like always looking back at that stack of evidence and being like, okay, I can like shout affirmations in the mirror of like, oh yeah, you're gonna do this. You're a killer. Like you got this. But like more importantly, continue to stack this evidence of like, okay, remember, back in early 2026 when you had that week where you're like, oh, this is all breaking, and then things went really well. Yeah, that's exactly what's probably playing out right now. And that same scenario happened in 2025 in October. So like continuing to stack these like occurrences has kind of helped me, uh, yeah, not catastrophize too much.
We're dying to know because you even share what was the PR month?
It's kind of funny because I was like thinking before this how revenue numbers for whatever reason sometimes make me uncomfortable, and there's probably some therapy there, and I don't know what it is. Like when I'm in the middle of a month, like I don't look at my revenue until the following month from the previous month, and I think part of that is like I used to check revenue fairly consistently, and I'm like, okay, what am I doing this for? Am I doing this for the revenue or what is it? And if I get attached to that, then like everything else kind of like suffers in a way because that becomes more of like the focus. And so for me, yeah, like I've gotten a pretty good rhythm of not checking revenue. And yeah, I checked revenue like a week ago for February, and we hit like 73K, which when I saw the number, I was like, dang. Like I was like, I'll be happy over like 50, it's like I kind of get a temperature on it. But like seeing that, I was like, this is pretty cool. Like, yeah. And then, yeah.
Andy's listening to this episode. He's like, I told you we should start the fund where we help people just chip away at those arbitrary numbers.
That was so close. Oh, we actually had someone that was like, oh, you ran the wrong card. Can you like refund and run this other card? And so we had to run it in March. So then it brought us down. And I was like, oh, so close.
That was so, yeah, that's the funniest at the beginning of the, because obviously we had the call last week on Tuesday, and someone's like, eval closed this month. Does it count towards February or March? I'm like, brother, just throw it in there. We gotta
Okay.
we closed February already. We're moving forward.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think I used to have like I personally still do, right? Because it's like, man, a team member might be listening to this and like hear that like we do fairly well, and I'm like, at the end of the day, what you make is not what you take home, and that's the biggest misconception. People are like, oh my gosh, you're probably going like Maserati shopping, right? You're probably looking at Porsches and Lamborghinis. Like, no, like we have overhead. Like I think our overhead every single month is 50K, right? So it's like if you do the math, it's like, yeah, we're making money. Of course, that's the reason why we have a business, but it is not cheap to pay your team a salary, to have the 401k stuff, to have space, to pay for marketing, ads, contractors, all that stuff. Like it all adds up. And at the end of the day, one of the things I've done now, it's everything is framed about how it's going to help other people. So I'm like, when we sit our team down, it's like, we're running Facebook ads, meta ads, etc. And I know that you guys are super frustrated sometimes because like the lead quality isn't amazing, but I need your feedback because I'm going to be changing the messaging over time to make sure that the right leads come in. And you're probably thinking like, hey, all this is great. We're going to be putting a lot of money into your pocket. And it's like, no, that's not the goal. Right? The goal is the fact that every single one of you guys are not going to want to be physical therapists that see 30 to 35 sessions every single week for the rest of your life. You're going to want roles where you mentor other people. You're going to want roles where you can work and not be in this physical location. You're going to want to be vested into the actual company so you can have skin in the game. Guess what? None of that happens unless we grow. So this is what we have to do right now. The main bottleneck is this. And once we address this, we're going to be able to have more stability so that we can pay you guys more. Like, it sounds crazy, but I want all of you guys to make more money because I know you deserve to make more money. But we need to be able to address these things in order to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. I think just being able to like framing it in that way and being able to provide a work experience for PTs too, where it's like, hey, like we're part of the reason we're charging what we're charging too is because of the fact that if you have someone cancel for like an hour-long appointment, like we can't always fill that hour. So like existing in this space, like that's going to give you time to like learn new things, work out in the gym if you want to, go get a coffee if you want to. And like, that's the beauty of the job. And like, with the revenue aspect of it, it's like it kind of allows us to like not burn you out as a PT and continue to like love your job, because we don't have this need to like see 15 people in a day per se. And so kind of always bringing it back to those things of like, hey, the reason really isn't to like make money per se. It's like we want to like serve people in our city for as long as we can in a healthy way, and also be able to like maintain our own health too, so we can show up for people.
Yeah, I've just like my goal personally. It's like to have a lot more time, location freedom, and all that by 35. But my personal goal is to not exit, but to have that option by 40, where like we have people vested into the company, and by 40 we can get another investor or get bought out potentially, so that everyone in our team can make some money, right? Like at the end of the day, you don't need to exit, but you should always be planning for something like that to happen. And I think we're creating something super unique in the sense that we have an actual practice filled with awesome clinicians, and we have a way to develop clinicians in a way where it's like education and all that stuff built out with moment education. So yeah, who knows, maybe when I'm 40 years old, and that's 8 years from now, Lifetime Fitness and Equinox or some other boutique kind of fitness gym is like, hey, we need the best physical therapy in all of our locations. We're going to buy you out, and I want you guys to be responsible for scaling this. One, that'll give all the members in our team some freedom, but also gives them more and more opportunities, right? But we'll get there when we get there. When have you felt like you've been exposed, where you're
Mm.
like, yeah, I need to work on that?
Yeah, I think for me, it's kind of funny. We're just talking about money, but like money beliefs, I think was a huge thing. So actually putting value behind the things that we do, like recognizing, okay, our prices are this way for a reason, and then being able to relay that with conviction, I think it continues to be a tough thing, but was like especially exposing early on for me. It was one of those things where I'd have people sitting in front of me and like saying a price or saying the cost of something, and like literally feeling my voice like shake in ways, and then recognizing like, okay, I need to like actually check my money beliefs with this situation, because if I don't, this is going to continue to be a difficult venture.
Yeah, that is probably like level one, I would say. Like at the base of it, it's like you've got people that don't come from much, right? Like, and I know, like, it's funny because like people join GGC, and sometimes you're like, hey, like, why'd you decide to pick GGC? It's like, oh, because you're an Asian brother. Gotta support Asian brothers. Man. I love it. But it's cool to be able to speak to like the immigrant experience at times, right? Where it's like, hey, none of our parents could afford this shit, right? Or none, even if they could, they wouldn't pay for it. And you probably had a very. Are you first generation? Like, what generation are you?
No, I'm definitely not, but my mom's side is Italian, so there's some money stuff there for sure.
Yeah, and all of that is just like built up years over years of like scarcity mindset. And I'm just like, man, I remember just being so freaking nervous and saying, yes, that'll be when we were charging like 200 per session. I was like, that's going to be $2,000. I'm just like, oh shit, right? It's like, it's insane. So that's definitely, how did you overcome that?
Repetition, I think. Yeah, like literally
When I told you to
verbalizing it.
look in front of a mirror and just keep saying it every day.
Yeah, for sure. And like literally feeling my pulse as I'm saying it. I
Love it,
think
love it.
another thing I felt exposed on is like was scaling a team, thinking that I'm like this special snowflake of like I can do it the best. Why don't I just do it myself? Like with the discovery calls, that was a huge thing. That was probably the first thing that was hard, is like having someone else do those, very difficult. And then also then with PTs joining our team, it's like, what kind of treatments are you doing? I don't know if I would do that. I think I would do it this way. And like having to step back and just trust that someone else can actually serve someone way better than I can in a lot of ways, and being like okay with that, and also being okay with the fact that like there can be people that come in that see another PT in our practice that don't feel better, and that's okay. Obviously, we don't want that, but like at the end of the day, we have to just keep putting our best foot forward and control what we can, and accepting the fact that sometimes things aren't going to play out super well, but it's not necessarily a reflection of us always.
Yeah, the that is the hardest part, right? No one bats perfect, and there's going to be times where like you do have a negative outcome, and like sometimes you just don't have the framework to help somebody, and it happens about once or twice a year, and it fucking crushes me. Like it's still that's one that I still have to work on, and like I just like literally typed out a name because I was like had a patient that was not getting better, and again, it's not like oh they have a meniscus tear not getting better. This is like numbness and tingling going down both arms with neck pain, and it's like we made some progress, but not to the point where like they're completely back to where they need to be. So yeah, I just made a note. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna reach out to them because I actually think I've learned a couple of things that would be extremely beneficial. So I can't wait to like, actually get them back in and try some things. And this is where like you got to lead with like how I'm able to sleep at night, knowing what we charge is like I'm gonna keep getting better. And if a patient that I served 2 years ago, I remember them because they didn't, get X, Y, Z, and I learned something. I'm gonna message that patient, tell them to come back in. I'm gonna treat them for free, because to me, it's not about the money. I mean, it is about the money in the sense that, like, yeah, we need money to keep the doors open, right? But like, I want to make sure that every single person that spends money with us, whether it is Moment PTP, Moment Education, or Go Getters Coaching, they get their values worth. And that's one thing that like I've just told myself that I'll never lose, because it's how I would want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, you haven't been exposed that much. You're just great at handling stress, Vince.
I think another thing is like just trying to be package things like perfectly. Like that's been a huge thing, is like at a certain point you have to like make decisions to like move forward, and I noticed myself like analyzing every possible option or situation. Like when it comes to even posting on social media, that for me was so hard for so long. And I'm like, hey, ultimately if you're going to have a business, like you have to be posting on social media. So like it can't be perfect, and you're going to have people that are going to comment and say things that like that are going to they're going to call you out on something, and they're going to misperceive something you say, and that's okay. It might be about them, but like that for me was super exposing, where it's like, yeah, it's okay. Someone might not be super pleased with like a belief or something that you say and put out into the ether, and you have to be okay with that.
Yeah, here's the cool part now. It's like I literally taught a seminar this past weekend, and I'm like, there's gonna be shit that we teach super fucking evidence based. You gotta do these things. There's gonna be things that we teach this weekend. Ain't gotten much evidence for it. You won't be able to find it in PubMed, but I use it because it delivers outcomes. So whenever like you'll get to the point where it's like someone will call you out on something, and it's like, I'm good, man. I live a great life. I'm very grateful for my team. I work with awesome people. They get awesome outcomes. We've scaled. We've done X, Y, Z, and it's like if you feel some type of way about how I look at the pelvis or rib cage or like strength training, it's like it's all good. I'm not going to waste my energy arguing over the internet. We're literally trying to make a huge impact in our community. And you, if I look at if we take a deep dive in a lot of people that just make all these like internet Twitter fights, I'm just like, that's kind of what you do. You haven't like most of your content. Like I can't imagine like opening up social media. It's like, let me debunk some myths, or let me just like shit on some people and their narratives. It's like, dude, what kind of life do you live? You know what I mean? Like if
Mm-hmm.
all you do is open up social media, trying to look at who's wrong and comment on things, it's like, are you happy? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a poison in a way. There's a book I love. It's called The Four Agreements, and it talks about the idea of poison, where someone will have a poison and they'll kind of pass it to you, sometimes intentionally, sometimes inadvertently. But ultimately, it's like all of our responsibility to recognize when like poison is coming at you and be the person that cleanses that, rather than taking that same poison and just like passing it on. And I think with like social media, it's so easy for that like stuff to just like stir and almost cycle into itself.
Yeah, Joe Hudson calls it trauma hot potato. So it's like, they feel very insignificant in their life, so they try to bring you down so that they feel more important. So they're throwing the hot potato to you, and if you react to them, right, you guys are just passing things back and forth. But at some point, as you like right now, it's like Christy and I are working through this. We both have traumas, right? My thing is like abandonment and not feeling wanted. Her thing is not feeling important. So we just keep throwing hot potatoes back and forth. And like last night, we just had a beautiful like conversation about like, yeah, you know what? Like when this happens, that'll be a trigger, and like we're gonna put the potato down. Like you're allowed to feel those things, and we're gonna dive into those things when we have those conversations, opposed to just barking at each other back and forth. But that's the nature of like any kind of uh, any kind of change, right? It's not going to be comfortable. Like Chrissy and I's relationship has gone significantly better every single year that we've been together, and it's just because we continue to have uncomfortable conversations. And people sometimes hang out with us. It's like, you guys talk about shit like that, and I'm like, I couldn't imagine not talking about stuff like that, right? Like, if we don't, then what are we gonna do? We're just gonna have this surface level relationship. It's like open a drawer, empty out the skeletons in a closet. At the end of the day, it's like you're going to leave this earth. You're going to die,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the scariest thing ever. So it's like, why would you spend your whole life not being who you truly are?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like living life with an open heart. Super easy to live with like a closed heart and just keep it close to your chest and be like, I'm not going to say anything that I actually feel. Like I used to think like, okay, the less like emotions I can feel and keep my bandwidth pretty small and just keep things monotone, things are just going to be easier. But I'm like, okay, no, this is actually like not a fulfilling life whatsoever. I would rather like experience the very high highs and the very low lows, because that's like what life is about. And I think like if you have a partner that is on that same page and like willing to do the work, like work on themselves, and they can also like resolve conflict, I think if you have those two things, it's going to allow you to like really experience the most of life and like push into uncomfortable things. And as PTs, I think that's like huge, because like you're meeting people at very different like highs and very different lows. And if you're in this like narrow bandwidth where you're just trying to constantly get by, not get too razzled by things, like it's actually going to be kind of tough. And I think there's an element of being grounded during a treatment session, but I also think you got to be able to tap into like, what does that low actually feel like? Like, do you live life with an open heart where you've experienced those things and you can actually speak to the person? Because you can have the best interventions from a biomechanics standpoint, but if you can't speak to someone's like low experience and depression that's actually causing their symptoms, like you're going to be spinning your wheels. And especially if they've paid you $2,000 for a plan of care and you've just been trying to exercise them, like it's just not going to go well.
You got to build that connection, and the only way you can build connections is to actually live a life, right? Being a really good physical therapist from a technical standpoint is extremely important, but you also just got to be a well-rounded human being. And balance isn't felt by keeping the same equilibrium every single day. Balance is felt when you navigate the extremes of the highs and the lows, and you can keep yourself feeling fairly neutral about both. Don't get too high on the highs, don't get too low on the lows. It is what it is. And we attach so much judgment to like, oh, things are good. Oh my gosh, got to keep it good. You got to keep it good. And like, oh, things are bad. We got to, this has got to improve. And it's like, things are bad. Problems happen. But when you solve these problems, good things happen. And things are good. This is amazing. But guess what? This might be a bottleneck. So like, let's figure out what the bottleneck is, right? It doesn't necessarily need to always be so emotional. We don't need to attach so much judgment to things. Are things good? Perfect. Are things bad? Perfect. What are my inputs like? I'm not going to be able to control the outputs, but I know that if I can be grounded in like what I do day in and day out, eventually I'll get what I deserve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I think just one more to speak to that is detaching from like outcomes is a huge thing. Um, yeah.
How do you, how, how have you been able to detach from the outcomes?
Whew.
It's a
Yeah,
daily
that's
process, by the way. So don't feel like, oh yeah, Vince has got this shit figured out. I don't have it figured out either. But what are some things that has helped?
something that's helped is if like during the day, if I have an outcome that doesn't really go my way, like let's say it's a tough treatment session or a tough evaluation that Like, let's say I have an evaluation in front of me and it's someone I'm like, I know I can serve this person super well. And like, our solution is, I'm like 95% confident this is the best solution for this person. And like, I wasn't able to actually like show up in the eval well and like nurture them to make a good decision with their health. Those things happen. I literally will go into the bathroom for 5 minutes and like sit and literally go like, almost doing like a somatic therapy meditation in a way where it's like, okay, where am I actually feeling this in my body right now? And recognizing, okay, that's kind of in my chest. Okay, I've like felt that before. Am I going to die right now? No, it's okay. It's just like you thought something was going to go a certain way and it didn't. That's okay. Just getting comfortable with that emotion and just like sitting in it. And within like 5 minutes, that emotion is like kind of moved its way out of me in a way versus carrying that like chest tightness. And now I'm like, okay, now I have this person, my next treatment session, this person's coming in and like I'm just carrying it into that session. So it's like taking these like mini, almost like meditation breaks, like snacks in a way, and like being like, okay, let's just like process this in the body quick and like keep moving.
I love the somatic stuff because I've noticed like so many random sensations in my body as we're navigating stuff and stress and anxiety. And I'm like, wow, like a couple of months ago, I kept feeling a sensation on my right leg, like not like ridiculous pain or anything, right? Just like a sensation, and it's just like tension. And some people feel tension in their traps, some people feel tension in their hips. None of these things are like very. I don't want to say it's not based on evidence. It's definitely not pseudoscience, right? Because you can't tell someone how they actually feel is wrong, right? It's completely within. These things are valid experiences. But man, that body part stuff is real, and there's people that have detached that how they feel from their body. They think so logically. One of the easiest ways to think about it, or one of the easy ways to pinpoint that out, is when you speak and you're always like looking up, right? You're too much in your head. When you're thinking about something, you're looking up. You're too much in your head. But think about a time when you had like a really great heart to heart conversation with someone. They almost like tilt their head down, right? There's like a moment of silence and they pause and they feel things within their body. I think we are constantly running away from ghosts. We are constantly trying not to feel certain emotions that come up in our childhood that have made us feel inadequate and have shaped our personalities, our beliefs, and the way we behave. And the way we do that is we just keep staying in our head. We keep trying to solve things with logic instead of feeling things with emotions. Have you had that experience where you're like, you had a huge breakthrough?
Yeah, I would say with going through like this business stuff, leaning a lot more into like Christianity and my faith has been massive. Like when, especially talking through like detaching from outcomes, like recognizing that God has a plan and he has it all written out. That's been a huge thing. And genuinely, I don't think that I've been able to get to this point without, God's provision, sovereignty and those things. So I will say like, if there's anyone listening to this that is Christian as well, like just know that that's been a massive thing for me, and continuing to give glory to God through those things. And that's even something we integrate with like our team. Like everyone on our team is Christian. We pray every week at our meetings. We pray for patience, and whether or not you're Christian, whatever religion um, you like, whatever your religion is, even just prayer in general is such a powerful thing. Recognizing that there is something that has it written out or is like caring for you, and there's a loving force like that has things and they're going to take care of you, I think is massive. And you almost need that, I would argue, to like be able to continue to show up each day and push forward, knowing that like it's not necessarily all on your shoulders and like you're responsible for everything, but that there's something else out there that cares about you and loves you.
I love that, man. Because when we had Mohib on, he was talking about it's like, yeah, the thing that keeps me grounded is my religion and like my community and like my connection to God and stuff like that. I'm like, man, like that is so dope. Me personally, I grew up Buddhist, and we didn't have like Buddhism is like complicated. It's so cool now, right? Everyone wants to be a Buddhist, but growing up, it was like a lot of my mom would pray like every single day. I didn't really fully understand Buddhism until I actually grew up and started reading these books. But personally, I've become more and more spiritual over the years. I don't know what I believe in, but I just kind of believe in as like universe as like a collective. Like I do think we're all connected to some degree, and it's not like you surrender and you don't do anything, right? And I think that's a huge misconception. It's like you still can have high agency with what you do, but also just trust that if you don't get the outcome that you want, whatever is coming for you is for you.
Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned earlier, it's like focus on the inputs and then the outcomes will take care of itself too, you know? Layering in the spiritual aspect of that too.
What are your we're coming kind of, want to be respectful of your time. What are like some of the biggest like, dang, I wouldn't be here if I didn't learn this from y'all. Like, or like, as you're navigating scaling the past couple of years, like, just so grateful that we had this specific moment where I'm like, that is going to be something that I will take with me for a while.
I think a big thing was the mantras. So you had mentioned whatever you're struggling with, whatever the bottleneck is right now, like whatever this self talk is, figure out a mantra that can speak to that and tell yourself that and feel that consistently. That's been a huge thing for me. One mantra that came to mind that really helped me was, and this is kind of funny, but it's delegate and destroy. Because I was having such a hard time like letting things go and trusting that whether it was God, whether even someone on my team like was going to, show up and do things better than me, was a massive thing for myself. So I would say that, and then also just speaking with like conviction on sales and showing up and telling people like what they need, like what we provide versus kind of giving people options. Like I mentioned earlier, saying like, hey, this like we do PT here. This is kind of what you need. Here's your goals. All right. Would you like to do 6, 10, 15? Kind of having like a passive approach, but rather like leaning in with conviction and being like, hey, this is what you're struggling with. This is how long it's going to take. This is exactly how we're going to scale your goals like over time. This is what it's going to cost. How does that sound? And then recognizing like, wow, that actually like people respect when you just show them with clarity and conviction what they actually need.
Love it, man. Is there anything that we didn't touch up on where you're like, yo, we should definitely dive into that?
Hmm. I think just having a community of people to go through this with has been huge. It can feel super lonely. I think even just in healthcare in general, like being PTs, like it can feel lonely and you feel kind of crazy sometimes where you're like, okay, yeah, maybe people do need to go see an ortho and like I'm the crazy one that like we should just image everything and like give clarity, but like know that there are so many people that think the same way that are like we could do things so much better from like a musculoskeletal pain perspective. And when you get around people that think the same way and are going through the same like challenges, it makes it so much easier. And even like going to the money stuff, I used to DIY things so much where I'm like, okay, I can figure out this like business stuff. I pretty much have every Cash PT's book because they like give them out for free. I think I like have them somewhere and I would just like read these free books. I'm like, I'm going to figure out this business stuff. But I will say like the moment I like did the moment mentorship, all the things like, and have someone else that's like steps ahead and just kind of following them along. And then being an artist with it myself and kind of putting my spin on it, that's been like so massive. Seeing other people do it, because then you can speak with the conviction and being like, yeah, so and so, they just did this, 6 months ago, they talked about it. And I like am now in this situation, the same thing. They said when it went this way, so I'm going to try what they did. And then sure enough, it works. And then you see 10 other people do the same thing and it just makes it easier. So not DIYing things, but like trusting that like if you can get around like-minded people, like makes it so much easier.
Yeah, there's two things. One, it's like I might be biased, but dude, the banter in GGC is absolutely wild. Sometimes I'm like, yo, y'all, we just have way too much fun in the actual Slack channel. Like just sometimes talking shit, but tons of support. And like it's almost like there's like certain sitcom characters. Like we have like absolute characters in Slack. Like shout outs to Ian. remember like Super Bowl is happening. Goes, everyone's watching the Super Bowl. I'm making ad creatives. I'm like, brother, just chill. Like, you gotta chill. But it's just so funny to see like the community that is there. Like everyone is different, different religions, different backgrounds, different cities, different just like race, all that stuff, and we're just like game to just support one another. I love that positive energy. And then the last point you made, it's like every like PT, uh, cash PT, cash physical therapist, cash based physical therapist, mentor, etc. They write a book, and I'm like, yeah, I'm probably gonna write a book at some point. I've got like some of it laid out. It's gonna do nothing but fucking making money. It's gonna do everything with about like how to think about life and how to think about like personal development. And I think when everyone zigs, you got to zag. And whenever you find something that you genuinely like, really like, just remember that person is different from you from a personality perspective, from a life experience perspective. They're in a different location than you. So you need to be able to adopt that to who you are.
I think invest in yourself is big too. So when you think back, it's like think back at like old vacations. Are you ever like, gosh, I shouldn't have spent money on that vacation? It's like it cannot be a great vacation, but rarely are you looking back and being like, I should have just saved my money. It's like you learned something from it. You had an experience. So like even for investing in mentorship, investing in like Con Ed and those things, like you're never going to regret it. Like it's you're always going to get something out of it and learn something. So I think like spending money on yourself and investing, that's been like a huge thing that I think was really really hard for me at first, and then like diving in, I feel like now it's just even less of a decision where I'm like, oh, this sounds interesting, yeah, I'm going to get this course and like keep pushing forward.
Yeah, that is definitely something that once you notice an ROI with one investment, it just becomes like a drug because you realize there's so many opportunities. Learning get better at public speaking. I'm like, yeah, I've already done one, but let's run it back with a second person and let's learn something new. And that's gonna really help me level up for April. And then like, another year and a half from now, maybe I'll go with another public speaking person and just keep getting better. And it's essentially what we've done with business. Just we've done every single mastermind between Christy and I and Peter in the PT world. So like now we've just divided and conquered. I'm like, yo, you're doing that person? Okay, I'm doing this person. Yo, what you learned? And like, all right, let's bring it back to GGC. Let's make this better. And I think you can't stop investing in yourself. Likewise, like got to set the culture, right? Not even in the business, but the community. It's like Peter has a coach, I have a coach, Chrissy has a coach. Like we're just constantly trying to develop so that we can show up better for everyone in the group. Yeah, Vince, and someone's on a fence. Someone's like, I don't know, GGC might be dope, but I gotta maybe explore other options. Anything you'd like to say to them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like this is gonna sound salesy in a way, but I'm like honestly just hop on calls with like if you're trying to grow a business, just hop on a call with the people that have a mentorship, whatever it is, even if it's not GGC, and just like get a feel for the culture and vibe, and then just like follow your gut with it. It's like at the end of the day, it's really easy to play things like safely and kind of like sit in your bubble. But it's like if you feel your gut pulling you to something, like kind of push forward and get the ball rolling. Cause like, yeah, you play the long game and make decisions in that way. Like you rarely regret it.
Love it, man. And I ended our first GGC live with a sentiment. I was like, I don't necessarily care if you guys continue to be with us or you join another group. I just genuinely care that you continue to get better and continue to grow. But what I've known is that like most other like mentorships and masterminds, the people that are running it either don't have cash practices anymore, they don't run cash practices, or they've never run a practice before, right? Or like maybe they've made their first 10K and they're like, okay, now I'm going to start coaching other people on how to scale businesses. And for us, it's like it's never been about like, okay, it's either you're with us or you're not with us. It's like in general, I want healthcare to level up. I want people to become really, really fucking great clinicians so that they can get the best jobs. And if they can't find the best job, let's help you create one. And then when you create that, it doesn't matter if you launch or scale with us. I just want to make sure that like whoever is helping you to the best of their ability, and it's not just focused on the business, but also you as a person. Because I've been a part of groups where like people have lost their livelihood from growing a business, and it's like, is it worth it? Is it worth it to lose your health? Is it worth it to like not be present for your kids, your spouse, your friends, your family? It's like you're gonna freaking go through seasons where you're grinding, but man, there's got to be seasons where you're enjoying the fruits of your labor. And to your point of like when you're traveling, I'm like, I love to see when people in the group are just taking some time. You had a big trip recently too, right?
Yeah, I went to London for like 3 weeks, which was yeah, which was a long time, but yeah, surreal to be at that point where it's like, okay, we have systems and a team going, and like I can step away, you know.
Love that. Vince, make a prediction. We're gonna come back to this moment. What's gonna happen in 2024 where you're like, yeah, that's gonna happen. I'm calling it now for yourself.
Like what's going to happen in like this year? You're saying?
Yeah. What do you think? Just shoot your shot.
Mm. Gonna bring on another PT and get them full time as well, um, and then revenue will follow that. We'll see what it gets to.
Still the revenue thing. I love it.
Dare dare I say 100? We'll see.
Yeah. No, I think it's been a freaking pleasure, man, to be able to play a small role in your journey and just to watch you grow from just like by yourself to growing to a team. And then we've obviously shared so many deep conversations on the side. And yeah, you're just like a fucking stand up dude, man. And I'm so grateful to have you be a part of the community and just like, it's just dope. It's just dope to be surrounded by people like yourself.
Yeah, man, the same sentiment. Like I think to about 4 years ago, I decided to do the moment mentorship, and like genuinely, I think that decision changed my life, not only professionally but personally. Like more than it's probably like a top 10 decision in my life. So I genuinely mean that. And ever since that time, like I can remember the coffee shop I was at and being like, shoot, I'm going to spend 2,000 on this. You know what? Let's freaking go. And then did that. And I still use like the clinical frameworks, all those things. I like work with our PTs on it, and then go-getters on top of that. It's just been absolutely huge. So like, I can't thank you enough. And I wish Peter was here too. He's been super helpful, even though he talks smack on Omaha all the time. But I'm excited to, yeah.
Let me give you a minute. Tell me the best things about Omaha. We got like 5 minutes.
Oh,
Give me like some Omaha gems.
I'll say the culinary scene is solid, like actually pretty solid. I think we have like the most restaurants like per capita or something in the
Hold
country.
on. This message is brought to you by visitomaha.com.
Yeah, exactly. It's like my sponsor.
You said
But
you had
yeah,
the best.
it's like some crazy like restaurant statistic. Like it's pretty easy for restaurants to get going here. So like we have a ton of options. Um, Weather wise, it's like all over the place, but I think I honestly like that because it just keeps you on your toes constantly. Uh, so I just frame it positively. There's like some solid running around here too. And then you can fly anywhere in the country, like pretty dang easily because we're fairly central, you know? And then people are super nice. Like I think I see people in Go Getters. I'm like, okay, with sales, all these things, marketing, and I'm like, gosh, in Omaha, I almost feel like it's a little easier in ways because like people are just so nice and like they're willing to like invest in things and they want to be better and things are just like kind of easier going, I would say. Versus my brother lives in New York and like when I visit him, I'm like, yeah, this is a little different.
Energy is different, man. Energy is different for sure. But yo, we got people in Omaha in a group now. So I told Peter, I'm like, yo, you gotta stop throwing shade at Omaha. Then we got
Yeah.
you and another group now. So I'm like, we gotta stop throwing shade at Omaha.
Yeah, I told Peter, I was like, you might need a new nickname. You can't call me Mayor of Omaha anymore.
Oh man. But no, Vince, man, appreciate you for coming on and chatting. I know it's a busy season. You obviously are, team is growing, revenue is growing, space is growing, and all that stuff, and life is happening. But you're coming to a live event, right?
Yeah, dude, I'm stoked. I'm rooming with Ian actually, so it'll be fun.
Let's
Yeah.
go. Oh man, Ian's like, bro, I don't run, but I'm sending it. So let's get
Yeah. He's gonna get
let's
rhabdo in the morning.
go. Good thing we'll have some healthcare providers, but dude, it's gonna be such a fun event. No more spots open. we've closed. I think we're rolling like 40 deep to this event, so it's gonna be a good time. We got some good coffee spots planned for our run. We got some barbecue spots, some chill spots to grab a beer, just kick it. But man, just selfishly excited to spend time with everyone. Vince, you're the man. Oh, you're gonna say something?
What's the barbecue spot?
The bar we are. It's not going to be one of like the super hyped up spots because obviously we're rolling 40 deep. So we're finding
Yeah.
one that's like almost like big ass like truck in a lot where it's like more casual than not.
Yeah, yeah, for
What are you
sure.
thinking?
Dude, I've been wanting to go to Love Barbecue. I've heard it's amazing.
Love barbecue. Yeah, and there's another one that was like Egyptian style barbecue that we're
Mhm.
looking at with Action Bronson on YouTube. But yeah, there's if people pull up, we're always trying to go to hotspot destinations for these mastermind events. So maybe one day we'll be at Omaha.
Let's go,
Might be
dude.
in Omaha.
That would be so. That would be so interesting.
Oh man, you never know. You never know. If it's a good airport, it's easy to get to. That's kind of what we're focused on: airport and some vibes.
For sure.
Awesome, y'all. Peace. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Vince, thank you so much, brother.
Thanks, dude. I'll see you not this weekend, but next weekend.
2 weeks, baby. Peace.
Peace.